Hi, good evening. Welcome to Pulse by Bloodline on iEnt Live. My guest this evening is Wendell Manwarren, Rapso artist, composer, Thespian. Welcome, Wendell.
Greetings, thank you, salutations. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah.
I like the and I didn't even look at the new setup, man. Moving with the times.
Yes, it's cool video.
Yeah, boys, indeed it is.
Okay, so let's start with where you came from, growing up, family, schooling, that kind of thing.
We a long time.
I do that.
Actually, I was born in Woodbrook, which is where I currently live. But I am actually a Belmont boy because all my formative years were based in Belmont. And I would say that definitely between 5 and 10 years old, that crucial period where you define yourself. I was based in Belmont. But even after I left Belmont, my grandfather still had his base there. So like I'd be going to St. Mary's College, you just walk up the road in Belmont and wait to get picked up after school and that kind of thing. So Belmont remained my home base of the community.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm one of 2 children of Eugene and Joyce Manwarren. And my mother was part of a bigger clan, the Ewing family from Belmont. So I lived as part of an extended family for during that 5 to 10 year period, which was some of the best days of my life. I look back at it. And Belmont as a community was very vibrant and very, there was action on every corner. So there was constant stimulation. So looking back now, I think, that is definitely what gave me my grounding and my interest in our cultural expression.
Tell me something, which one came first, theater or music?
Music for sure, because I didn't have no such exposure to theater apart from seeing Play of the Month and Best Village on TV. Belmont didn't really have that kind of a thing, even though down the road from me had the theater, Lennox, Raphael, and I would have been too young to have access to that. That was like forbidden territory. But music, I grew up in a house full of music. My father had a vast and extensive record collection. And, back in those days, every house had to have the proverbial radiogram. And, you couldn't just go and play your father records, but he trusted me from early. I was always intrigued by the record collection, just the artwork. I could still recall, like Santana, Braxis album in my mind. And he had like a Stan Getz collection. And I grew up hearing that music, and he had all the Sparrow and all the Kitchener. And back in those days, on a Saturday, all the uncles and whatnot would come around, music would play, fellas would drink and eat fish broth or whatever. So you kind of grew up with that sense of music always in the background and part of life and part of the vibes. So I would say for me, it's definitely music.
So back then, who were some of your inspirations?
Shadow, definitely Shadow. Sparrow was huge. And because, for a period as well, family lived down Simeon Road, so we were very close to literally close to Sparrow, and we came close to the family over time. So Sparrow was always a tremendous inspiration. Back then, Bob Marley, coming into an awareness of self, Bob Marley was big, and the older cousins would have been into Bob Marley. Trinidad music on the whole.
Yeah. Okay, that's straight out music. What about foreign actors and movies? What are some of your memorable ones, your favorite ones?
Well, even though I am a thespian and I've acted in, I don't really have like favorite actors per se. I have more favorite musicians, but I wasn't a huge movie buff. I would go to the movies and fall asleep. If I want to get some quality sleep, just let me go in a movie.
I in the same boat as you, boy. If I want to get a good sleep, let me go to the cinema.
Oh, good. Why not enough from Jump Boy? So I wasn't a huge movie buff, but I was a real TV peon back in the day. I knew everything that was on TV. I knew every show that was coming up. I knew every local presenter, every local host. I was a real TV peon, which I was really interested in. Fundamentally storytelling, Best Village always intrigued me. I love the plays. I love the bigness of the performance. I love the folk culture. So,
who were some of your favorite theater directors, the productions, the roles? What are some of your favorites?
All right. Well, I got involved in theater through St. Mary's College Choir and singing chorus in the opera. And that was just fun. That was just showing up and it was being part of the line. I didn't consider myself no best singer or nothing. It was just a chance to do something. I was a gang of us, Glenda Collins, Roger Roberts, David, Ronald Sam, Martin Telfer, a whole bunch of people now leave school. And that was just fun. Out of that came the opportunity to do Guys and Dolls, a musical. And I went with the idea of auditioning for the chorus and they offered me the lead. And that was such a scary idea to me. My first instinct was to run and say no. But then a part of me thought, well, if you can't respond to challenges that way, even if you're afraid, at least accept the challenge and trust that they see something in you that maybe you don't see right now. And I got some okay reviews, enough to carry on as an actor, not much encouragement as a singer, but that was all good. And but the real turning point for me is when I joined Trinidad 10th Theatre. And that's when I really came alive, working with Helen Camps had set up the 10th Theatre. She wasn't around as much when I joined, but Raymond Chukong was there, Godfrey Seeley, Leslie Ann Wells, Mary Ann Roberts, Christine Johnson, Mervyn DeGauche. So, Arthur. So it was like a who's who of who then went on to become all the theatre producers and theatre directors when I was coming up. So definitely working with Mervyn and Christine was very exciting in Bagas Company. Working with Raymond Chukong was very exciting. Tony Hall, I didn't get a chance to work with in those days, but I got to know and appreciate Tony. And he was a great help to me. And when we decided to do our own shows, the time I spent at the Trinidad 10th Theatre working was very, very good too. Working with Greg Durant from the Royal Shakespeare Company as a director was a big experience. Working with Albert Laveau and Errol Jones and Stanley Marshall, they would have been heroes to me, theatre icons. So if I had to say I have a favorite actor, it would be more along the lines of local actors who I admired, like definitely Errol Jones. Working with him was a huge honor. Working with, fellas coming up like Richard Raghubar Singh, Penelope Spencer, Cecilia Salazar is one of the finest actresses I've ever worked with. And we did some really, powerful work with Bagas Company back then under Mervyn's direction. So I would consider myself very fortunate to have worked with some really good people.
Good people, yes.
Yeah. Working with N2 Springer early in my career too, and branching out and working with a range of people and getting up to meet with Noble. And of course, one of the biggest things that happened is during that time, falling in with Minchell and working in mass, and not just mass, but the theatrical side of mass was very important.
Okay, tell me something about the origins of Trigonal.
All right. Well, in a sense, it kind of tied to that Minchell connection and the Bagas connection, in that we would have known Stanton through Bagas, and then all of us would have been a part of Minchell's Kalu company at the time in its beginning stages. John Isaacs was already well established, working with Minchell, bringing his own section, that kind of thing. Roger and I used to bring a section. Stanton used to work in the camp. But the main thing that brought us together was, as a group in the beginning, was Juve. And we decided to explore Juve, investigate Juve. We were already deep in the belly of the Minchell beast. And Juve was the only runaway, really. And I think that's something we all had in common, was the love and appreciation for Juve as a definite different time from, let me say, the big mass that we were all invested in. And my relationship to Juve goes back to my Belmont childhood. At 9 years old, I played in our first big Juve band, Mary Dark Isles. My uncle was the one who hook us up to play and pull a chariot that a fella up the road had made. I guess he was playing some kind of emperor or something. Well, I know it ended up in a bacchanal and we had to get carried back home, covered up in mud and crocus bag. We didn't understand it, but I was intrigued. I wanted to repeat that, but of course we didn't get to do that for a long time.
Which brings me to my next question. Either this year or next year, correct me if I'm wrong, is it 25th anniversary of Blue?
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay. What was the concept behind Blue?
Well, the concept behind Blue, let me backtrack a little bit because we didn't really start off with a concept. We started with invitation to record a song from Jean-Michel Gibert, who was had a label called Rituals Records that was set up back then with Lorraine O'Connor and Roses Hezekiah. And we started the Juve band, it was Roger, myself, and Steve Udit. John was around, Stanton was around, but we were the official Trigonal that was bringing the Juve band. We did that for 3 years. And Jean-Michel used to play Juve with us. And somewhere in the mix, he decided to offer us a record deal. We had started vibes in. Maker Stanton got a chant and whatnot. Once John was around, singing was always part of the mix. We were singing in Walcott shows and whatnot. So we were singing and vibes in. With no clear plan. But Jean-Michel's offer is what really took the whole thing over the top. And we, in late in 96, we decided to take him seriously and hook up with Graham Wilson and decide to record Blue. But it was only after we had submitted another song that they said, well, it was a nice song, but it didn't really fit the carnival vibe, which we later did with Beaver called Blue Blue. And it was while we were in the studio looking at the idea for the song, Jean-Michel said, why are you not singing about Juve? And it was like, why did we sing about Juve? So when I came back and I told the guys, Blue immediately flipped to blue. Stanton pulled the dictionary and the definition of blue, a color or pigment. And he just added Trigonal making a statement and the rest was history.
Wow.
Turned the whole world upside down.
But that really turned the whole world upside down.
It's a literally our world upside down.
Because it's one of the biggest Rapso songs that ever released.
Yeah, when I hear the song today, it still sounds like brand new, something about it.
The other smash hit you had was Talk It Talk.
Yes, that was definitely a smash hit. And
and that was about politics. That was about politics, right?
Of course.
So we middle of a COVID crisis, etc., all kinds of things going on, oil prices go down, all kinds of things happening, crime on the rise. What are some of your views on local politics? Coming out of that song, Talk It Talk.
Well, the thing of Talk It Talk is that it's a song that was recorded and sung in 1999.
Yeah.
And we've been able to sing that song every single year since then with the same impact.
Relevance.
Yeah. And every time elections roll around, every 5-year cycle, it takes on a whole new life. And one of the things we were careful to do with that song was to not point it at any one individual, but speak to a phenomena. So that is how I respond to the politics around me. I try not to point to the individual. I speak to the phenomena of our politics and our idea of governance. And it is clear to me that, the way our politics currently operates, it does not really benefit the vast majority of the society. Surely it must work for some, but I don't think it works for all. And this zero-sum game of whichever tribe happened to hold the coffers at the time, will run favors in the direction of their tribe. For me, I think we have to evolve beyond that. I think there's a segment of the population that don't really subscribe to that, but they haven't found a voice yet. I look at the fact that I think we never took the time to dismantle the colonial inheritance of politics and governance, modern politics. I'm more concerned with governance because politicians come, politicians go. But how are we governing ourselves? That's the thing.
On the topic of holding the coffers and stuff like that, right? I take a big responsibility. The state has a big responsibility. Culture and the arts are like adrenaline to the national body, right? And I think that more investment, what do you think about more investment to be made to, especially in these times, to like maybe virtual productions, supporting the artists, the Thespian, supporting the directors, the promoters, that kind of thing?
Well, yeah, I mean, you're preaching to the choir in that regard. I mean, I put up both hands and say, here, definitely. Even before this COVID crisis, I was saying that we're not utilizing the biggest, most potent resource we have in a conscious way, which is the people, the culture of the people, the thinking, the imagination, the expression of the people. I've always felt that if we assume that we are inherently creative and we will just continue to create, irregardless, as we like to say, but, we cannot take these things for granted. And we cannot assume that because we come from a rich wellspring of culture, that we will fully utilize that rich wellspring of culture to our benefit currently. Because we're fighting a serious fight against a cultural hegemony that's coming at us, that's way bigger than us, that we are at the mercy of. And our expression right now is in a battle. For I don't want to say survival, it's not that dire, but valuation. If we really value it, we wouldn't be arguing about if we invest in it, that more will come of it. If we want to talk about diversifying the economy, well, then we have to diversify in the direction that seems to have the most potential. And I mean, every Trinidadian has a streak of creativity in them that, other people look at and marvel at. But for some reason, we can't, all we do is look at it and say, boy, if only we was like so-and-so, and if only we was like, well, if we was only more like ourselves, in a real way, Lancet Lane, 1970, I think he said one of the most fundamental things, that if a man wants to set false standards for you to follow, to hear what you say, and then he went on to say, don't believe what foreigners do is better than you, because that ain't true. It's a mental block that hard to unlock. It had like a rock that you don't walk. So in 78 years after independence, he was describing a situation where he was still seeing that we were looking outside. Earl Lovelace says we have to look around us with our own eyes, and we have to be able to see the various species of plants and the numbers, variety of butterflies and hummingbirds. And I could tell you everything that's going on in America, and I can't tell you what's going on around the corner. So
it's sad.
For me, that's the level on which, we have to challenge our current existence. And I say we can't throw our baby out with the bathwater in our attempts to be modern and to feel like we're part of a bigger world, that we forget who we are. And I think, the people that came before us did an incredible job in helping define who we might be.
What has been your experience with your carnival productions? And every year you have a carnival production.
We started in 2004, the year of that we had Good Morning Neighbor, which was also one of our biggest songs, thanks to Shell Shock.
Again,
once again, peace be upon him. One of the greatest ever. And the decision to do the Trigonal show was informed by, once again, the reality of our situation at the time, which is after 5 years with Rituals, after having signed an artist development deal, after trying to understand, okay, we got offered to make a song, we made a song. The song was so huge, we started touring one time. We gave up everything else to do that, to serve the music. We got something that many people would have, give their IT for, So we had to be respectful of it. But one of the things we were trying to do was understand the game, to understand, where we fit into the game, because we immediately got on what I call the soca train for a couple of years, with talk and mud and glue and whatnot, singing in fets and whatnot. But then we didn't really, that wasn't our thing, And the idea for us to do our own show was always there. Because when we first started our Juve presentation, it was done with a theatrical presentation in the old fire station, in the old dungeon, underneath the fire station at the time. And it was really like edgy experimental theater. So it was us desiring to be true to, that part of ourselves too. Making theater, making mass, making a statement was something we always wanted to do beyond just making the music. So we set up the Trigonal show in 2004. We didn't know if it was going to be a success. It turned out to be, once again, a success beyond our wildest dreams. We ran for 21 nights at the Little Caribbean. That's unprecedented. Now we can't even run a show today for 21 nights.
We'll reach a point in the conversation that is the fun part of the conversation between you and I. I call this blood pressure.
Oh gosh, I am pre-hypertensive. I'll have you know. So.
It's a trivia segment. I ask you questions, and you can give me one or two answers.
Okay.
You have to make a choice. Okay. So 10 minutes. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. Black pudding or smoke herring?
Black pudding for sure, hands down.
Sugar cake or Benny Ball?
Benny Ball.
Tiramisu or red velvet?
I'll go with tiramisu.
Beach or river?
Beach. I like the waves.
Sparrow or Kitchener?
Oh gosh, boy. Well, I have a connection to Sparrow.
Yeah.
I do. So that's my bias. I will have to go with Sparrow.
Okay. Blue Devil or Pretty Mass?
Blue Devil. Hands down.
Chukong or the Gouge?
Oh, God. No, that's not that. That's pure back. That's real blood pressure. You told them two different. Okay, I'll give Chukong the edge for his sense of humor. Okay. The Gouge have a mad cutting sense of humor, but in a different direction.
Comedies or horror?
Comedy, hands down, for sure.
Madame Butterfly or Mary Could Dance?
Oh, Mary Could Dance. I always told Richard, I don't know what he did. I think he was just a channel. I think Mary Could Dance is the best of contemporary theater to have come out of Trinidad and Tobago in a while. And the performances over the years have never faltered. I've seen Mary dance quite a few times.
That's right.
Madame Butterfly was quite a spectacle, but the fact that Mary Could Dance has endured, and it's time for a new generation of Mary, but it's all good.
So how your hypertension going?
Well, good, because
so you have answered all the questions.
Oh, good, right. Yeah,
you survived it.
It had two spikes there. 2 spikes.
Yeah, 2 spikes.
It wasn't a game.
Okay, tell me about your relationship with Minchel and Mass.
Minchel, Mass. My relationship with Minchel and Mass started with my mother, who you knew well, and I knew you from a little boy.
Yeah.
Went to wait for her in the evening to get picked up.
Yeah.
And she played Pan in Pandemonium.
Yeah.
She also played Mass in Minchel.
Right.
So because of that, I was drawn to both. And Minchel always stood out for me, head and shoulders above everything else that I was seeing. I was born in Belmont, as I say, grew up with plenty Mass around me, but never really interested in playing Mass or anything like that, just interested in the whole scene. And when it was time to, after her involvement in playing Mass, I was very keen at looking at Minchel, but still not interested in playing Mass until I saw the stuff that the Tent Theatre was doing, like the little drama excerpts to start the band. And I thought, I wouldn't mind being part of that. So that was also a motivating force to get involved in the Tent Theatre. And then when it was time to leave St. Mary's, we decided, the whole bunch of us, to play Mass at the urging of Martin Telfer and Hayden Ford, who already played Mass. I kind of just gave in and said, okay, I'll play Mass. But the day we decided to sign up to play Mass, there was a sign saying help wanted. So the mass camp we registered in directors to Ready Help Wanted. It was right on Carlos Street. And the day we signed up and walked in the camp, Minchell was literally there with a bag of feathers, and he just looked at us and said, who has an eye for color here? And I never heard that expression in my life. The next thing you know, he was making mass. It was Madame Hiroshima. And that was the Saturday.
That was Bote.
Bote.
Yeah. Well, let's God rest his soul.
Yeah, boy. It's Hugh Bernard, yeah? The mass was going up on the Sunday. So basically, we make the mass all through the night and into the next day and walk it up to the savannah. And by the time Bote stepped into that thing and it transformed, that was life altering. I'll never forget that. That was the Callaloo.
Yeah.
So I first played officially with Mitchell in the year of Callaloo. The year before, I was on the side of the stage with River. When they sing by the rivers of Babylon, and the women came and they poured the dye and whatnot. And Tambu sang, clear the way, clear the way. Well, next thing I was on the stage covered on and by. Even though I didn't pay to play in the band or anything. So I always say River was my baptism. And then from Callaloo, I just got right into the bowels of it. So we got from that first year, because Mitchell was the first guy we met. From that point on, we were working, on like the special projects, not like the regular mass, but like the kings or the queens or individuals or things like that. And then over that time, that evolved into the what we call the performance section. The biggest of it being when we did Tapestry, and of course we had like 200 people involved with Lavin Children's section and Ella, and we had to coordinate with David as to when he sang the song and how we transition. Those were great times, because in between that too, we had the Olympic Games and all that. And being able to go off and work with him in 2 Olympics and all over the world and do all kind of thing was.
That is great. That is great. That is very good. Tell me something. As a thespian, as a singer, etc., if you were not into the arts, what's an alternative profession you think you might have been pursuing?
Maybe a teacher. Like I am a teacher, but maybe officially a teacher. But something I was always interested in, and I actually started training to do it, but I didn't continue because I started taking off my career as an actor and whatnot, started to take off. I was starting to do psychotherapy training to be a therapist.
Wow.
So
that's a surprise.
I think it's very much what I do as a director. And, yeah, it's still a part of what I do.
I don't know why, but since you, as I said, I know you from a little boy going to primary school.
Yeah.
And I always thought that you'd end up being an attorney. Yeah, I do something good,
I think, I have the gift of the gab.
That precisely.
My grandfather, I used to line with my grandfather, and he was quite a character. Yeah, he was. And, of course, I think, being the first of my batch to go St. Mary's and all that, a lot was expected of me in that regard. But then I got bit by the bug, and the rest is history. I never saw that for myself, though. But I definitely, if I had to choose, it would be either as a teacher or a therapist. Or
therapist. Yeah. Okay. So we're almost at the end of our conversation.
Okay.
What has COVID-19 taught you most about yourself?
That I could stay quiet for long periods of time. And I've always been inclined to be, a reader. Yeah, I could be inside. I could read and just watch and observe. And I mean, I relish human interaction and communication, but I've learned that about myself. I could appreciate that about myself, but I've also learned, to appreciate family more. I think there was a period where, as an artist, put family in the forefront. Yeah, family appreciate my old father and his stories now. He's 88, so a lot of these stories he would have told you back then, you hold on to, because you realize that's part of who I am and why I do what I do, that passion.
Is he still in Belmont?
No, he's in Trinity now.
Trinity?
Yeah.
Okay, my final question to you, right? Wendell Manwarren and Trigonal, where can we expect to see them in the next 25 years?
Oh my God. Well, I don't know, presupposing that 25 years is allowed any one of us. I mean, look at my gray beard, But, I suppose we could live on beyond ourselves in that sense, making music, making things of the creative realm. Sometimes these things have a way of outliving you. I think we've made a significant contribution to, the cultural expression of this space. We've learned a lot, and we still have a lot we would like to express. We have works in the pipeline, and we're never short of ideas. And a lot of our ideas over recent time has actually been, how do we help mold and shape our whole set of younger ones, the way we were molded and shaped. So, it's just really being a part of the cultural landscape in some form or fashion.
And to that would be the 50th anniversary of Blue.
Oh my goodness, why?
Yeah, so you can see yourself performing Blue next 25 years?
No. I can barely see myself performing Blue next month. Somebody asked us to come and sing for Carnival. I say, boss, just to come and dust off and band up my knees to come and sing 2 songs. And then after a whole year, so saving up the energy we have a new album with 12 songs. And we go focus on that going forward. Hopefully, if there's a break in the horizon by Emancipation time.
Yeah, hopefully, and fingers are crossed.
Fingers, everything crossed, Yeah.
And
I really, what I learned in this moment, to be serious, is how precious life is, and how we have a responsibility to, look out for each other in this moment, What I see happening is a lot of people don't want to be inconvenienced in the least. And I think the idea of a sacrifice for a greater good is something that is not so commonplace. So I would like to see more of that in the mix, and less moaning and whining and complaining.
Yeah.
Because people who have real cause for complaint, you're barely hearing them. You're just trying to figure out, that old Black Stallion song about sufferers, Yeah. Don't care about plenty of them things that other people have time to whine and whinge about, So people, be grateful, count your blessings, and be respectful of life. Not yours, others.
Wendell, much thanks. I wish you good health and all the best for the future.
Thank you.
My regards to Stanton and Roger.
Yeah, man. Respect and blessings. And thank you for your support and encouragement.
Don't mention it, man.
That
is all right. That is okay. Okay, bye-bye.
Respect.
Okay. We've been speaking with Wendell Manwarren, artist, Thespian, Trigonal star, and you'll be watching at Pulse by Bloodline on iEnt Live. Ciao.